Good day, everyone, and I really appreciate you for watching my video. So in this video, I'm going to talk about why we are all pretty much blind. And I mean that literally and figuratively, but mostly literally. Because everything that we see is not what's actually outside of us, but what we create inside of us based on the information and signals that we receive. And throughout this video, I'm going to talk about the significance of that, why it's important, and just some bigger picture ideas related to all of this. Before I start the video, I'd like to ask you all to please hit that like button. And the majority of you are not subscribed, so I'd really appreciate if you subscribe to my channel. It'll help me with the algorithm. It'll help me spread my vision and raise the vibration and help learn a whole lot more and just understand this whole world, the veil behind the world, everything, take things further. If you've watched my channel already, you see my vision, you know what I'm trying to do. So check that out and consider that, please, if you can. Okay, so let's get started with the video. Now, the world does not exist. There is no world, especially as we think it exists. Now, what exists is a visual, auditory, sensual, just inputted signals into us that we interpret as something, and we create a mind's eye picture. And the picture that we can create can be vastly different from the picture that the next person creates. You can virtually create any type of world, story, sensation that you want based on your own subjectivity. Meaning, based on how you feel, you can see something totally different, even if you're looking at the exact same thing. What you see is not real, but what it is an interpretation of at least 3 different things. It's an interpretation of your imagination, an interpretation of your rational assumption, your rational assumption being what you think should be, therefore it is. You feel, okay, this fits here, 1 + 1 = 2, so you put a 2 there, even if it's not actually a 2. And necessity, what you feel needs to be there. And keep in mind, necessity it's a biggie, because necessity is pushed by Mother Nature. And Mother Nature drives a lot of necessity through fear. And I use the word fear. It doesn't necessarily have to be fear, because fear is a low vibration of faith. That's what I feel that fear is. But you get the point. Now, switching gears a little bit. I always wondered how animals of the same species find one another and interact with one another and know to do things with one another, and not join another group of animals and live the way of that said animal. And here's the answer that I came up with. It's just my, me logically thinking through it and coming to my own conclusion. What I came up with is that these animals, through their own limited respective information absorption and capabilities, they create their own world through having similar senses as another animal. And again, they're creating their own world in their own mind based on their own senses, the interpretation of their senses. And keep in mind, when we use our senses, you pick and choose what information that you're going to use to put together a picture or an image into your mind. And keep in mind that the information that we're getting is a constant stream of a tremendous amount of information. And we're picking a small portion of that and creating snapshots of what we want to be, or what we feel the picture was the most appropriate picture. Now, with the animals, again, still following along with my conclusion to this question. With the animals, and even us, we're animals too. They create their own reality that's suitable for them based on the parameter of the ability of their senses that holds the spectrum of what's possible from what their senses can produce. And they create a reality, and another animal creates a reality that's very similar to that reality, and they meet one another because their realities are similar, and they realize that they can live in that other animal's reality. So they try to live in that other animal's reality because they realize that they can fit into that other animal's reality, and they decide that, okay, I fit. This is where I should be. So that's my conclusion to that question, or my answer to that question. Now, I'm going to switch this up a little bit and kind of lead out with this, and it'll kind of tie back to a lot of what I've already talked about, and kind of answer some questions. Not really answer, but it'll make some things make more sense. But the universe is filled with countless types of information or light. And I'm using information and light as the same thing, and it's kind of oversaid. And a lot of people say, they say light is information, light is everything, and I think it's kind of a cop-out to just, for the sake of simply verbalizing something, they just use the word light to just account for some of everything. But I get the point, and I see the reason. But what we can see, what we can sense as human beings through our senses, they say we have 5, but I think we have at least 10. The 5 senses that we do have is just an objective. It's an objective counting of the senses. It's what everyone has decided. Okay, we have 5, but just because we are not able to access and see and understand the others doesn't mean that they don't exist. But through our 5 senses, or the senses that we have, we only perceive a very, very, very small amount of information / light that the universe has to offer. And the amount that we can perceive is just so insignificant. Basically nothing. It's a blip on the radar. So what I'm getting at with this is that when you start talking about the afterlife and this world, the other world, and that type of thing, some people say the other side, or this side, or living and dead. Here's my interpretation of that. I also believe that there's this side and there's the other side. But for me, that this side is the side that we can perceive with our senses, and that we all agree upon with our senses. And keep in mind that most of us don't agree upon this. A lot of people have their own interpretation. Some people even have, fight and have wars about this. So it's kind of a big deal. And the other side is that remaining amount of information and light that we don't have access to. And keep in mind that other side is 99.9999999. So what we have is very insignificant. And if we are to take this logic further, and we start talking about the realm of people having extrasensory abilities and paranormal abilities, and having access to the spirit world, and what are some other examples? understanding dimensions or seeing dimensions, and just basically being able to tap out of this world. And in those cases, in those cases, that's that information that we don't have access to, that 99.99% of information. So what I'm saying with that is that, this side is that very minute amount of information that we have access to, and the other side is that almost infinity of information that we don't have access to. And if you start, thinking about and talking about other planets and the afterlife and reincarnation, that whole thing, and other dimensions, there's a spectrum along what senses that other creatures have access to, and they can have a whole different reality that we can only ever dream of to be possible and ever think of that could ever happen. And throughout the universe, various creatures get a very minute, insignificant access to this information, and some of them share that same access to the information, and therefore they can have those similar experiences with one another and share those experiences with one another. So I'm going to stop here. I'm starting to ramble. I started to take off and go into no man's land, but I'm going to stop here. And I appreciate you. I love you all, and I thank you for watching. And I just want to let you know, and I guess the message that I want to put out is keep your mind very open. And the reason why I say that is because you can only see what you're looking for. I got a message. I got this saying from, I think, Roger Martin. He's another podcaster. He said that if your mind is blind, then your eyes can't see. So with that, you want to open your mind up so that you can see everything. So again, I love you all. You take care of yourself, and I'm gone.